You just want me to dance again, don't you, Kathy? Are you there, Kathy?
Can you hear me?
There you are. Okay, I was starting to think I was doing a solo. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, okay. You couldn't hear me?
I couldn't even see you. You were gone completely.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're
So,
live, all right? Everybody else is
yeah,
good?
yeah,
Okay.
we're live. It says we're
Okay.
live. It says
All
we're
right.
okay. Well, I'm going to get off of here
Okay. All right.
and
Don't leave
okay.
me though. I need you to run my
Yeah,
buttons back here for
I
me.
will.
Okay.
I
All
will.
right. All right.
Okay.
Hi everybody. It's Johnna again. Hope everybody's enjoying the spring weather. Yay! I think it's here to almost stay. So today we're going to talk about switching up some old favorites, making them just a little more friendly as far as vegetables, getting a little more vegetables in our diet. But I don't think it's going to really, change the food, the taste of the food whatsoever. So we're going to going to do things a little differently. I'm going to jump right in and start cooking today. So our two recipes we're going to do, and I'm going to kind of do these at the same time too, just like if I was cooking for my family. Instead of, doing one recipe and then stopping and doing the other one, I'm going to start one and then jump into another one. So hopefully I don't get too confusing. Our first one is sloppy garden joes, and it is a take on just a regular sloppy joe. This recipe is on our Celebrate Your Plate website that I'm all the time talking about, and it's just going to incorporate a lot of really good veggies right in with the ground beef and the sloppy joe mix. And then the second one is going to be a oven baked onion ring. So these are just they're real onion rings. They're just not deep fried. So we're not going to be getting all that extra fat in there. So we're going to see how these turn out. Okay. Hopefully I can get them done in our half an hour. And if you have any questions, pop them in the chat box over there, and Miss Kathy will be happy to hopefully help me out and answer. We can get some questions answered if you have any. Okay. So I'm going to start off with, I've got my ground beef here. And as you can see, I've got my ground beef packaged up. I had bought this in bulk, and I put them in the freezer in these flat, big patties like this. That way they thaw out really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop this into my skillet and get it browning up. This is for our sloppy joes. So it's just 1 pound of lean ground beef, and it just popped it in the skillet there. And I'll break that up a little bit so it'll be in bite-sized pieces. Okay, so we're just going to let that sit there and brown. And then our ingredients in the sloppy joes are some olive oil and a yellow onion, a carrot finely shredded, a green bell pepper, a pound of ground beef, an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, a 15-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, some mushrooms. It either says can or fresh mushrooms. I didn't have any fresh ones, so I've got some canned ones here that I've cut up. Quarter cup of barbecue sauce, garlic powder, black pepper, and then you're going to serve it up on some whole wheat buns, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start off by doing all my vegetables first. As you can see in the bowl here, I had that can of mushrooms, and they come in pretty good sized pieces. So I just took my knife and chopped them up into like 1/4 inch little chunks. And then this bell pepper is some that I grew in my garden last year, and I cut them up, froze them real quick, and put them in a bag, and then I just use them all winter long. Good thing that spring is here because I'm running really low. Use them all winter long in recipes like this. I can throw a handful in a potted chili or in a casserole, anything like that. So those are my bell peppers. I've already thawed them out. Then I'm going to, in the same bowl here, I've got a carrot that I've already scrubbed up real good with my brush, and I'm going to just grate some of that in this bowl as well. And you're going to probably, it says 1 carrot, so that's, this is a pretty large carrot. We're not going to use this entire thing. But we're going to put in probably, I'm going to say, a 1/2 cup of shredded carrots into this, okay? That's going to do a couple things. It's going to add a little extra sweetness to it, and it's also going to add some thickening. So anytime you put a shredded vegetable in something, it thickens it up a little bit. So there you go. You can see I got probably about a 1/2 cup of carrots in there. So I'm going to lay that carrot over the side. I'm done with him, and I'm done with this grater too. So I'm going to lay that to the side. And then I just have a small yellow onion that I'm going to dice up. And you're going to put this into dices, probably about the same as what I did the mushrooms, about a 1/4 inch. So And this is a small onion. A lot of times it kind of is, these recipes, they'll call for a medium onion or a large onion. And it kind of gets confusing because, you know, you really don't know what is a large and what is a small. So this is what I would call a small onion. So I'm just dicing this up. And what I'm going to do is when my hamburger is done browning, I'm going to put it in a colander that I got sitting over here to drain. And then I'm going to throw these onions right in that skillet. Well, all these veggies right in that skillet and let them saute up. So let's get that. I'll set those over to the side. Now, since I'm in the cutting vegetable mode, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my onions for my onion rings. So I've got a couple big Vidalia onions here, okay? I've already taken the skin off of them. I haven't cut the ends off of them yet, so I'm going to cut this in, get that bad section off of there. Okay, so take those and throw that to the side. And we're going to cut these into about 3/4 inch slabs, okay? So I'm just going to take my knife here and cut straight down through. And you don't want to get them too thick because we're not, like I said, we're not deep frying these. We are actually going to bake these. So you got to make sure they're not so thick that they're not going to bake up. All right. And then we're just going to take these onions and we're going to break them up into rings. Okay. And some of the rings will be real thin and some of them will be really thick. And you'll have some of these membranes in here too. Always pull those out. It's just like the skin inside of the onion. So pull those out. And separate them all out, and then you'll have some small ones in there. When you're doing onion rings, you want to try to get a good sweet onion because if you get a really, really strong flavor like a cooking onion, you can use those to make onion rings, but they're going to be a really strong, going to have a little bit of reflux on you if you try to use those as an onion ring. So I'm going to cut this one up, make just a few more. And my hamburger is starting to brown over here, so let me flip over and get it stirred around some more. Now, one thing you always want to make sure you're doing when you're using ground beef in a recipe is to make sure that you're draining as much of the fat off as possible. We don't want to eat that fat because obviously, you know, we're trying to cut back on the fat and not raise our cholesterol levels up. So that's the reason I'm going to put it in a colander here in a minute and drain it off. You can actually go an extra step and take your ground beef and rinse it under some really hot water, and that'll actually take even more fat out of it. Okay, I think that's going to be plenty of onions. Okay. Oops, how'd that get in there? So I'm just going to break these up into more of the rings. And we're going to make our own batter here in just a second. So I got plenty of onions here. There we go. Does this look good? Let me rinse my hands off real quick. All right, so stir the hamburger one more time. Don't want to burn that up. Now for our batter for our onion rings, it's calling for all-purpose flour, cornstarch, low-fat milk, which I'll get some skim milk. I've actually got it poured in a cup because I have to cut it in half here. Some whole wheat breadcrumbs, which I've got in a bowl here, and then some olive oil and some cooking spray. Really super simple. So to make our batter, I'm going to grab my milk real fast. We're going to start off with the flour. I've got it already pre-measured here in the bowl. And I'm going to get some cornstarch. We need 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And you want to make sure they're level teaspoons or tablespoons. There's 1. And there's 2. Okay. And then we're going to take half of the milk. So I got it measured out a cup, so we're going to put a half a cup in here. And we're going to stir this around until it makes like a thick like batter. And you're just going to take your fork and just stir. And it's going to just be kind of looking like pancake batter. But it actually is just flour and milk, and cornstarch. It's going to be really super thick, and they want you to get that blended together. That way that cornstarch is all blended through there. See how thick that is? All right, jump over and stir our hamburger again. It's browning up nice, guys. And this is a rather, looks like it's got a lot of broth, a lot of fat in it, so we want to make sure we cook this down good. Now, we're going to take a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, just good old apple cider vinegar, and we're going to put that into our batter here. If I can get the jug open. And be careful measuring over top of your bowl, because then you can overdo it if you spill. Okay, so there goes my vinegar in the bowl. And then we're going to put the rest of the milk in. Okay, get rid of that cup out of the way. And we're going to stir this all together. And you got to be careful. You make sure you get a bowl deep enough to stir this around, because you can get really messy really fast if you're not careful. Let me get a whisk. I always like to whisk everything. That's my favorite thing to do. It gets all the lumps out of there. And it's not really super thick batter. It's kind of a thin batter. But we're going to dip our onions into this and then roll it in the breadcrumbs, and then we're going to put them onto the baking sheet. We're going to pop them in the oven. I've got the oven already preheating to 450. Okay, guys, so it looks like my hamburger is ready to drain off. So let me get that into my bowl here. We'll let that drain, and while that's going on, we're going to throw our veggies into our skillet and get them sauteing up, okay? There is quite a bit of prep work with these recipes, but when you actually get them all going, they go together pretty quick. So we're just going to let these saute up until the onions start turning transparent, where you can see through them just a little bit. Okay, so I've got a baking pan here that's lined with parchment paper, and I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of cooking spray. And then I'm going to take my breadcrumbs, and it calls for, where's my olive oil? To put in 2 teaspoons of olive oil right in directly into the breadcrumbs, okay? And this is going to make them so they're going to stick to these onion rings just a little bit better. It says to take your fingers, but I'm going to use my spoon and just kind of stir these around until you get that olive oil all mixed in with the breadcrumbs. This is going to give it more of that deep fried appearance and flavor, because you're still going to have a little bit of oil in your breading on your onion rings, but it's not going to be at deep fry where it's going to be actually drenched in the oil and cooking that way. So you can see it gets kind of chunky looking in there, okay? All right. I guess maybe I am going to have to just break over and use my fingers, aren't I? Okay. Got to get that mixed in there. I want to make sure it's nice and blended in. Okay, so we're going to take our onion rings, and we're going to dip them in our batter. Stir in our veggies. They're starting to brown pretty quick. All right, so I'm going to try to cheat and do this in the dainty way, but I'll probably give up and just use my fingers. So there, I'm dipping it in the batter, and then I'm going to pop it into my breadcrumbs and see how it's all coated, and I'm just going to lay it on my baking sheet. All right. You want to make sure you get them nice and coated, because we want that coating to get all crispy in the oven. Probably will have to, I got way more onions than what I need here, so I'll have some extra. Nothing else, I probably will pop them in the freezer, and I can always use these later. All right, so goes together, as I said, pretty quick here. I'm just coating it up into the breadcrumbs. Make sure you get them all inside there. I'm going to lay them single file. And if you have some smaller ones, you can lay them inside of your bigger ones. That way you can get more onto your baking sheet that way. All right. Let me come back over here. Veggies are starting to saute up really good. You can smell those onions. And I'm going to dump this hamburger back in here. It's all drained. And let that heat through again. Okay? And that'll also kind of keep your vegetables, since I'm kind of not paying attention, keep them from burning. All right, so just a few more onions here. And we're just going to pop these into a 450-degree oven for about 8 minutes. And they're going to brown up really nicely in the oven. Okay. And the advantage to this is you're not going to have all the fat that you would have from deep frying. The advantage with the sloppy joes is you're not going to, you're going to have extra vegetables in there. So, you know, sometimes it's kind of hard to get, it's easy to get your family to eat a sloppy joe sandwich, but it's not so easy to get them to eat those vegetables on the side. So if you put the vegetables right in the sloppy joes, well, you know, there we go. We're getting twofold there. All right, just a few more. We just about got our pan full, guys. Yep, got to use my fingers. Not going to work that way. Yeah, I knew the tongs would be nice for a little bit, but they're getting a little coated, aren't they? See all them clumps on there? This is easy to do with your fingers. Couple more. All right. Okay, so I'm going to set this to the side. Rinse my hands. And pop these in the oven. And like I said, it's at 450 degrees. I almost put my cutting board in there. That would have been fun. 400. Smoke detector would have went off on that one, wouldn't it? So 450 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. We're going to start off with 8, and then we'll change it as we need. So for the rest of our sloppy joes, I'm going to move you back, guys, over here closer to the stove so you can see what I'm doing. All right. So we've got our vegetables in there, and we've got our hamburger in here. It smells good already, guys. And I'm going to add in 8 ounces of tomato sauce. I don't have an 8-ounce can, so I'm just going to use half of a 15-ounce can. Okay, so there's about half of that can of tomato sauce. Now I will take the rest of this and put it in an ice cube tray, pop it in the freezer, and I can take it out and throw it into recipes as I need. An ice cube tray holds about 2 tablespoons per cube, so that works out that way. And then I'm going to take a can of no salt crushed tomatoes. We're going to add those in. And then a 1/4 cup of your favorite barbecue sauce. If you don't like the barbecue flavor, you can always just substitute out some, maybe some chili powder. If you don't like the sweetness of the barbecue sauce, you can use chili powder instead. Or if you want them a little bit spicier, you can always add in the chili powder as well as the barbecue sauce. So that's going to be something you could do too. And then we're going to put in a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and then we're going to stir this together and just let it saute down. Smells just like that canned barbecue or canned spaghetti or sloppy joe sauce that you can buy that's full of all the extra salt and sugar and all that goodies. So this is going to be better for you and probably going to taste a lot better too. Okay, Kathy, if you want to go ahead and go to my other slides there, I want to kind of go over some things with some vegetables with you guys. So this was our, oh, I forgot to do this one. This is just the introduction slide there. Y'all know what I'm doing now. We're doing some family favorites with a twist. So how many vegetables are needed? I'm always telling you guys that you need to get a lot of vegetables in your diet, but I never tell you how many. So the amount of vegetables you need or any type of food is going to depend on three things: your age, your gender, and your level of physical activity. So if you are someone who is very active, say you're a triathlete, you're out running marathons, you're lifting, doing a heavy weightlifting program, or you're just working out strenuously 4 or 5 times a week, you're going to need more of everything than the people like me. I mean, I'm not a total couch potato, but I'm far from being an athlete. So for the average person, like what I'm going to call myself as average, you're going to need at least 1 to 3 cups of vegetables a day. So, it's really easy to get those in there, because if you look at what we just put in here, okay, you're going to have the onions. There's going to be probably, if you would eat 5 or 6 onion rings, which maybe 3 or 4 onion rings, that's going to be close to a half a cup. We put at least a cup and a half of vegetables in these sloppy joes. So there's another, quarter cup. So there's right there is almost 1 cup already just in this meal. You eat a big salad, you're going to be getting 2 cups. So it's really easy to get 1 to 3 cups of vegetables in your diet a day. But you can do it with 1 cup of raw vegetables. You can do it with 2 cups of a leafy green salad, like I said. You can do it with 1 cup of a vegetable juice. But be careful with the vegetable juices, because they will tend to have a lot of salt in them as a general rule. So you want to be really careful doing that. But you can always add things in like that. Snacking on celery, snacking on carrot sticks is a good way to get almost a cup of vegetables into your diet. Kathy, if you want to go to the next one there, I can break it down even more for you. So talking about, different ages and different sizes of people are going to need different amounts. So if you look at your kids there, a 2 to 3-year-old should have at least 1 cup of vegetables a day. That could be, a, maybe 3 florets of broccoli, and then a couple of carrots with some dip. So right there's almost a cup. 4 to 8, you need 1.5 cups a day. 9 to 13-year-old girls and boys are going to differ just a little bit because of their body mass. Boys are just actually a little larger, so they're going to require more. Girls 9 to 13 years are going to need 2 cups. 14 to 18 years, 2.5 cups. Boys 9 to 13, the same as the girls, 2.5. But then as they hit their latter teen years, they're going to have more body mass, so they're going to need just a little bit more. So about 3 cups a day will get them through. And then women, we're going to stay there from 31 or from 19 clear up until, senior citizens, between 2.5 to 2 cups. So it's not really hard to get that in. Like I said, if you eat 1 salad a day, you've got pretty much all you need as far as your vegetables in there. And men are going to be about the same thing. They're just like the boys. They're from 19 to 30. They're still that growing, those teenage years. So they're going to need the 3 cups, and then 31 to 50, 3 cups, and then after that up to 2.5 cups. So it's not really that hard to get these vegetables in. It's just making the conscious effort to do it. Okay. All right, guys, so this sloppy joe is looking really super good here. Now, the only thing I think I would do different with this is I might put, instead of the crushed tomatoes, I think I would rather have some diced tomatoes in here, so you'd have those chunks, and then you just would have to cook it just a little bit longer. So let's check on our onion rings. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they're starting to smell, and they're browning up really good. So we got about another 2 minutes to go on them. So you actually, with that batter, okay, we're doing onion rings tonight, but if you would want to do, instead of doing, I don't know, the fair times are going to be coming up here soon, and a lot of us like the fried veggies at the fair. This batter would do really well. You could do like broccoli, you could do carrot chips, you could do cauliflower, make it in smaller pieces, and then you could coat, just like we did the onion rings, dip it in the batter, dip it in the breadcrumbs, and then just bake it in the oven just like we're doing these onion rings, so you can have some of those as well. Let's go ahead and pull these up out of the oven and see what they're looking like. I think our sloppy joes are just about done. They're getting nice and thick, so I'm going to go ahead and take them off the heat. Oh, yeah, guys. Oh, yeah. Got nice and crispy. Look at that. Those are better than some of the restaurant that I have seen. So I've got a pack of whole wheat buns here. So I'm going to go ahead and make up our sloppy joe. And you could top the sloppy joe with a little bit of cheese if you would like, but I'm just going to, I mean, we got plenty of veggies in there. And look at them big old chunks of pepper and onion in there. And then oops, I put it upside down. Oops. Okay. And then, yeah, I'm crazy. I'm going to burn myself. I got all these utensils and I'm using my fingers. All right, guys, looky there. Dinner is served. Just as the timer went off. That was perfect timing, wasn't it? All right, Kathy, what do you think?
Delicious.
Those onion rings turned out really well. They look nice and crispy.
Oh, I know. I'm
pretty.
to see how those taste.
Yeah.
I wish I could see how those taste. You'll have to let me know.
Batter's really good. I can vouch for the batter. I just ate a piece of the batter. So, yeah, it's really good.
Good.
And those actually go together really super quick, a lot quicker than what I thought they would. When I was first looking at this recipe, I thought, this might take some time. But all right.
Well, that looks yummy. You guys enjoy tonight.
Oh, we will. We will.
Okay.
Well, we'll be back next week. I'm not real sure what I'm doing next week. I tried to put a little sneaky hint on the bottom of when they put it on your Facebook page of what I was cooking tonight. So if everybody watches when the next week's come out, I'll try to put a little peek there of what we're cooking so you'll know ahead of time. Okay?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Johnna. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy. You have a nice evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.